And we are live. I am just clicking live on Instagram, and here we go. So, today we are going to hopefully, once Paul joins the stream, we're going to talk about the Tour du Mont Blanc. This was a failed attempt that we had probably about 3 weeks ago now when we first decided that we're going to do these live streams. So, yeah, myself and Paul, we're going to talk about his experience on the Tour du Mont Blanc and talk about prepping for it, planning for it, packing your bags, what to expect on the trail, kind of traveling to and from the trail. Um, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. So, if you're joining us on this for the first time, this is a new style we're going for. We're going to be talking about different things on our live stream. They're going to be available to watch afterwards as well. So we'll be recording all of these, posting them out on our social media channel. We're also going to be talking to different people from the hiking industry and from the hiking community as well. So we're going to have different guests talking about trails, about different topics such as land access and stuff like that. So really just opening up the floor and talking about different things from the hiking industry. It's the peak season for hiking as well at the moment. We're I suppose in the northern hemisphere. I know there's certain countries as well in the southern hemisphere, Australia and New Zealand, that are kind of hiking all year round. But right now, everybody's out at the moment, so hiking's top of mind, and we just want to make sure that like everybody knows what's going on in the hiking world, and keeping those conversations going. So I see a couple of you guys are joined in. Discovering Dan, what is up, man? If anybody is not following Discovering Dan right now, go over and follow his account. He's in the middle of a record attempt of the Vanderleinum Challenge. And if you don't know what that is, here in Ireland, we have a list of 275 mountains, the highest mountains in the country, essentially. And Dan is currently trying to climb all of them in record time. It was recently climbed in record time by Ellie Berry, last year, who did it in 50 days. I did a podcast with her there last year. It's up on YouTube. You can check it out. Absolutely amazing record feat. And there's not just one, but there's two people that are currently hunting for the record. Dan is just one of them. He's doing an amazing job so far. He's doing all in aid of rescue dogs. I can't remember the name of the charity off the top of my mind, but he's doing an absolutely incredible job. And following his content is just class. Just every single mountain that he does, it dedicates to a dog, and it's in great style. The other person that's doing this right now is a guy called Aidan English, and not to put down what Dan is doing, is still doing an absolutely incredible job. But Aidan is walking the entire length of the country and hiking to the top of every single one of these mountains, and he's very, very close to doing it in record time. So yeah, just two people to follow along. That's Discovering Dan, who's in the comments there. You can join him on Instagram and then search Aidan English. He's doing a thing called the Big Walk, and very much that is what it is. So Pete has just asked me there, what's the best trail I've ever done? Best trail I have ever done probably has to be the South Downs Way. It's not the most technical route. It's not the most maybe talked about route really, but it's just absolutely spectacular down on the south coast of England. It's probably one of the few long distance trails I've really done. I've done a few over here in Ireland. I did some really cool hiking trips in the United States as well. I went and did some trail. Did a kind of a 3 or 4 day hiking trip in Yosemite Valley as well, which was absolutely breathtaking. But just the experience of long distance hiking is it's amazing. Just being able to hike from one side of a country to the other. It's absolutely class. Dan Baz, what is up? Welcome to the stream. I'm still waiting on Paul to join this and give us his insights on the Tour de Mont Blanc. Because Paul hiked this back in, I don't want to say the year, but I think it's like 2017, 2018. And he hiked it with his now wife. And we've talked about it a bunch of times. It was on my list. I was supposed to hike it last year with my partner, but we went through the whole buying process of a house, and which I'm in right now, which 2 years later, we are here. But yeah, so he did it a couple of years ago. He's had an amazing experience. And I really want him to come on the stream and start talking about it, but I don't know where he is. Possibly ran off to the toilet beforehand. He's got those pre-stream jitters. I don't know what's going on. Pete, if you are talking to Paul, tell him to come on to the stream. He is late. Other trails that I've done as well, or sorry, things that I've put on my list, is the Pennine Way over in the UK. That is one that I definitely want to do. It's again from the podcast. I've spoken to so many people that have done the Pennine Way, and I never really would have thought of that part of the country as being like an epic journey. But every single person I've spoken to has said like that's the top of their list of all the hikes in the UK. That and the West Island Way, but I don't want to do it in summer because it looks like it is absolute hell when it comes to the midges. United States, I don't know. The bucket list is just way too long. But the Pacific Crest Trail definitely has to be up there. The John Muir Trail as well, that starts in Mammoth Lakes and makes its way over to Yosemite Valley. There's the Great Divide Trail in Canada. There's the East Coast Trail in Canada as well. There's so many different trails that I need to get done. Dan, hello Dan, what's the crack? We're still waiting for Paul to join the stream. I don't know where he is at the moment, but if anyone has any questions at all, one of the other things as well that we want to use for this stream is to field questions, talk about the app as well. So myself, Paul, and Pete, we normally are on these streams. We talk about things that are happening in the hiking world, but we also talk about the app. Different maps that we're launching, different features that we're launching. You might have noticed over the last while we've launched a couple of new maps. So in the United States, we launched Purple Lizard maps, which cover like the popular hiking areas in Pennsylvania, in West Virginia, in Virginia, and a couple of other places. I think Puerto Rico as well. Puerto Rico, they're covered as well. And then in Europe, we just launched Compass maps, which have a huge amount of coverage. They cover Germany, Austria, parts of northern Italy, and some of the islands off the west coast of Europe. I can't remember off the top of my mind, but they have extensive coverage, and their maps are fantastic as well. They're probably the biggest independent mapping provider in the world, as far as I'm aware. But we just launched them, and we're continuing to launch loads of maps across the United States and around the world. So, any good trails in Cork? That comes from Dano Faz. Yes, we have the Bear Way is probably one of the best long distance trails in Cork. There's the Sheep's Head Way. There's I'm trying to think now other long distance trails that are in Cork. There's the East Cork Way as well, or the East Munster Way that leads into Cork. I don't know exactly where that goes in Cork, but Cork has some incredible trails. But the Bear Way kind of tops the list, I think, in terms of the long distance trails. I know the Sheep's Head Way is one of the more popular trails, I think, on HiiKER, but anyone that I've spoken to that has done the Bear Way has been absolutely blown away by it. It doesn't look like Paul is joining the stream. He's leaving me high and dry here. Has anyone ever hiked the Tour du Mont Blanc that wants to join the stream and start talking to me about it? Because I'm running out of things to talk about. What I might do in his absence, I might bring up the actual map of the trail if people are interested in that. By the way, just keep firing in those questions. If you have any questions about trails, about maps, about anything to do with the app or trails or hiking in general, please feel free to throw them in. I have done a good bit of hiking myself, so if I'm happy to field some questions in the absence of Paul until I get him on to this stream. He is still not with us. Just checking there. No, he is still not joined the stream. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Feel free to throw in your questions and I will get this Loaded. Oh yeah, it's here. There we go. So share screen. Share screen. Now, if you haven't used, I don't know what this looks like on screen. I'm going to just flip over here. Okay, it's probably not going to look the best because I am on a desktop here at the moment. So I'm going to try and make this more mobile screen friendly. Okay, that's a little bit better. Let's make that a little bit smaller again. And then we'll do this. Whoops, wrong button. How's that looking? That's looking a bit better. Oh, Pete's here. Thanks for joining, Pete.
Saw you floundering there for a bit, so I thought I'd join in and try and. I think Paul's dealing with something at the moment, so he just can't join. But I'll try and fill his boots while you're waiting.
So, Paul, Paul, Pete, what is your favorite hike that you've ever done? While I'm
do you know what? I haven't hiked too much. Normally, I'm kind of day trails. We haven't really found the time to do any long distance hiking over the last couple of years. We did a good section of the Wicklow Way that one time. I can't even remember when that was. It was about 3 years ago, but that's my good sole reference for multi-day hiking. And like it's such a counterbalance, and I work for a hiking company. All I want to do is go out hiking, but I'm too busy. So we really have to get that sorted.
It's the big drawback. It's so annoying. Like whenever people are like, "Oh, you must be hiking all the time," it's like, nah, don't really like that much.
No, we still get out every so often, but no, I'm looking forward to really putting together a multi-day hike. I'd love to do something like, you know me, I'm always giving out about kind of the difficulty of hikes. I want to do something like chill, like the Camino, or a section of somewhere where it's nice and flat. You go kind of decent town to town and see some cool stuff and eat.
So you're looking at that elevation profile of the Tour du Mont Blanc and going, no, that's not for me.
No chance. Yeah.
Really?
Think so. Not yet. Like I need like, if this is something that's happening in the next like couple of weeks, I would probably say no. If it's something that I can plan for and think about for a couple of months, then maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Like hiking for me is something that's kind of chill. and that's the way I like to hike. I like it to be relaxing. I like to be in nature. I don't want to be like hanging off steps and those creepy fucking ladders that they have everywhere on the particular parts of that tour. Not to freak out that poor person who said they're lined up to do it in July. But it's hardcore in sections. It's crazy.
That's John Rowland. He is hard as nails. Him being able to do this, but like from what I can see, like there's only a couple of little moments, but you're pretty safe the entire time. I suppose the big thing is that elevation gain. Like looking at this elevation profile, I don't know how big this is on people's screens, but it's a lot of climbing. You're probably doing the guts of about 2,000, depending on how far you hike every day. You could be doing between 1,500 to 2,000 meters of climbing. That's 3,000 feet of climbing every single day. That's a lot of climbing on it.
But it's nuts. It's like I suppose. Well, like we sit here. I sit here and look at trails around the world every day because that's part of my job. But you can never really put it into context about like the actual elevation gain and the altitude and the vastness of it all until you're there potentially. Like how do you train for something like, and that's they were the questions that I wanted to ask Paul about it. Like I'm not sure if he did too much training. I know he was kind of running and walking a lot, but I just don't know how you prepare yourself for something like that.
Yeah. Paul has decided to join the chat.
Sorry, I got held up on a phone call. Apologies. Oh my God, I'm actually just getting memories looking at here. That is above Cormier, I believe in Italy.
I believe it is. Yeah. This is the Fraternali maps that we have now on HiiKER from our Italian mapping providers. But yeah, look, we were kind of just talking about the reasons behind hiking, and Pete kind of joined in because he saw me floundering there on my own trying to get through the call. But yeah, like the Tour du Mont Blanc definitely has been on my list for a really long time. Paul, you hiked it back in 2016. Am I right in saying that?
Might have been 2019.
2019, okay.
2019,
Like
I think. Yeah.
it's been on my list, and I know a lot of people are probably watching this or that have hiked it or are planning to hike it or are thinking about hiking at some point in the future. Like how long did it take you and your partner Emer to do it?
We did it in 10 days from memory. Yes, 10 days, 10 tough days. Like I think it's, you can quickly lose perspective in the fact that you essentially have to climb like Ben Nevis or Curran Tool essentially every day for 10 days in a row, give or take a couple of meters. And actually, it's kind of funny now because you're zooming in on no, that's not the southwest corner. If you want to go down to the southwest corner of the trail there, I remember it is that day was just by far the most grueling. So we came out of this small town there, which I can't remember what the name of that town actually is, but we came out of that town there, and it's a really, really big climb up there. Actually, it's one of the places where I think 3D maps will really do it justice. But we came out of the town there, and it's a big, big climb up, and then that climb there is absolutely grueling. But it's kind of whatever way it kind of looked in the map. We got to the top of that, and we really kind of like we were tapping each other on the back, and we're like, you know what, we've done our work for the day. We put it in there. Let's just start kind of descending down towards Kerme. Again, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of the town there. But then as you're like walking on the road towards Kerme and you're feeling great about yourself, I was envisioning all of the different kinds of pizzas, the several quantities of pizzas that I was going to eat, all great. And the trail just like takes this right turn. There it is there. The trail takes a right turn and it just goes up this hill. And we were at the bottom of that for about 20 minutes, like just like, this has to be wrong. This has to be wrong. There's a road here that we have to take. I remember Emer was just like, because I was telling her as we're walking down, no, Emer, that's it, done for the day. Honestly, it's easy. We're just gonna like start, you know, I'll pull up the menu on my phone, we'll get some food, it's gonna be fine. And like as we turned up that, she literally cursed me the entire way. And it was just, that was by far the toughest section of the entire trail there. Not like it is pretty steep to be fair, but like it's not crazy steep. It's just we weren't psychologically ready for it.
Jeez, well, yeah, that's you can hear like visually representation, when even when you're telling me the story there, like you know, he came up to the top of this call, this saddle. I was like, oh yeah, and you can almost see the town from there. You can almost see Cornwall from there.
That's the painful part. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, goodbye. See you later, legs. Up you go.
Is there a kind of a like obviously like I've climbed like small mountains and things like that on a day, but like when you hit something like that seems like pretty challenging for your head, you know. Like did you have to? Were you? I was saying before you joined, like how do you mentally prepare for something like that? That's so big that you can't exactly train for something like this because it's so huge.
Honestly, I do think you lean into other things when you're in an area like that. I can't emphasize how incredible the scenery is. It just is. So when you're in those moments where you are very, very annoyed and like the little things, because like so when you stay in the refuges every day, you get your lunches for the next day. So like they're definitely like nice, but they're not the most exciting. You're getting like a boiled egg, you're getting an apple, you're getting a bit of a sandwich and stuff like that. And I remember because we had like seen this, we had eaten our sandwiches top of the other call, and we were getting hungry going all of a sudden. We had no lunch left, but honestly, it was the scenery. That valley there, I can't emphasize it enough how incredible it is, and how like the views of the glacier. So you're kind of walking. For a lot of you're walking kind of on the opposite side of the valley of the Mont Blanc Massif, and the views of the glacier coming down from Mont Blanc. It's silly. It's silly. I was honestly like, views like this, I couldn't conceptualize that these things could exist, because the mountains are just so massive. I can't even imagine what it's like when you're in somewhere like the Himalayas, where they're like double the height again almost. But that's it. It really is. You just lean back in the views and how incredible they are.
You're just kind of, it's so it's so otherworldly and so like striking that you're not even paying attention to how difficult it is almost.
Yeah. I did get in trouble a couple of places along the trail there, because I did get a drone at the time, and I had gotten like this tiny little drone, not a very good one, but a tiny little drone there. And this was kind of before drones were getting big there. But I do remember, as we were walking along there, like, it's just so annoying, because every second you're like, oh, I have to get my drone out here. This is too amazing there. But then there was one French guy who came past me, and he absolutely started like roaring at me. He's like, you're destroying my ears with this device that you have. And I do actually get where he's coming from, but he really went at me. Like, he was like, you are destroying my ears and the beauty of the silence here with your filthy noise. And I was like, oh Jesus, I'm
well,
so sorry.
in fairness, if you're on a once in a lifetime trip and all you can hear is
no, I do definitely get where he's coming from, but like, equally, I'm like, man, like, how do I not like capture this? You know, it's like, it's like those moments where everyone's like, be present in the moment. And I'm like, no, but I have to. Nobody's going to believe me.
So you just someone that I posted, I have to acknowledge this. He's saying, you guys are making this sound a lot more challenging than I thought it was. Maybe I should drop it from my list. No,
don't do that.
just keep in mind, Paul is probably the most ambitious hiker in the world, and maybe not the best planner in the world.
That's fair.
These things, he embraces the mystery.
I was also going to say that I embrace the cheese and the beer very heavily as well. That was definitely a factor.
His priorities are probably just a little bit out of whack. But like the Tour du Mont Blanc, it's like, you can do it in, like, Paul, you'll know better than me, but you can do it in like as many days as you want to. I think you and me and Pete as well, like, we get a little bit ambitious with our timelines. We go, oh yeah, we can do that in like 3 days. That's no problem. We can do that in 3 days. And then like 5 days later, we're like, oh God, it's going to take us another 5 days to get this done. So
the rule of thumb that I've always heard for the Tour du Mont Blanc is, if you can run a 10K, you can do the Tour du Mont Blanc.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard that before, actually. Yeah. So like, definitely do not drop this from your list, especially if you're listening to us. Like, this is not perfect advice. But on the Tour du Mont Blanc then, so what was your, I suppose it's hard to pick a highlight, but like, what was one of the best places you stayed?
Oh, there was honestly so many. There was
the amount of like refuges are just insane.
Oh, there's so many. There's so many kind of alpine huts as well, and there's just there really is. There's so many places. Now, a lot of those on the Mont Blanc Massif, there'll be alpine huts there, but along where the trail is, where you go past all the refuges and the refugios. There, like the first place we stayed in, which is a refuge called Nant, which is kind of right over, kind of just past the like that, right back at the first section of the trail there. That was particularly special, but the absolute highlight has got to be, again, I really do apologize for my pronunciation, but La Fleguerie, which is kind of like above Chamonix, very near where the chairlift is, that kind of goes right up to the top of the valley there. And oh my God, I'm not sure if you've ever seen this shot that I got from upstairs, where I'm like walking towards the window. And you get this view. It was just like, it was honestly, it was so nice. That actually, to be fair, that place didn't have the nicest food. We had a lot nicer, like, for example, Nant, where we stayed at first, they had incredible food and really, really good beer. But that place didn't have the best beer, but oh my God, it definitely had the view. But then, like, but also where we stayed, I believe, in a town called La Folie, which is in Switzerland. It's really nice. So they have, like, it's kind of like this kind of flat area between the mountains, and there's a small little lodge there. And so like your dinner in this place is they just have a giant barbecue outside, and they just have loads of beers and like a big barbecue. And then there's loads of people camping in the kind of the grass plain there. You do have to get a license in case anyone's there. You show up there. You don't have to have a license. They'll walk up to your tent and they'll ask you for a $5, and then you just give them the money. It's probably just people getting scammed, but no, I think you get a license off them there. And then but we were staying in the refuge. But honestly, it was like a barn with just some mattresses on the floor. And it's like a big line of mattresses, like everybody's just kind of lying on them, kind of there on against one of the walls, and that's it. But that was I really, really enjoyed that. That was particularly nice.
I'd say that the sleeps though at the end of every day were like probably the best sleeps you've ever had in your life. You could have slept on the floor and you would have just slept like an absolute baby.
Oh, like 100%. Like honestly, you end up going to bed most times around kind of 9 or half 9 or so. So we definitely weren't kind of staying up too late on, like, because you're just so wrecked, you know.
Yeah. So in terms of like, so the trail goes through 3 different countries. It goes through France, Italy, and Switzerland.
Yeah.
In terms of like the food and the culture, like, what did you see much of a difference when you went around them?
You definitely do. Like, for example, when you're in Italy and you're Cormier, that's probably one of the bigger towns that you actually stop in. So that's, and there's obviously like some incredible Italian restaurants there. We went to a pizza place, cannot remember the name, but my God, it was absolutely amazing. But yeah, you do, you definitely do. And there's different, there's a lot of lodges along the way that kind of represent the different areas you're in. So again, when you cross over into Switzerland there is like a lodge you immediately, and honestly, it is the most quintessentially kind of Swiss looking cottage you could ever see. And yeah, it's like absolutely stunning. So you really do. You honestly really do. You get a sense of the different cultures and the different kind of, just cultures and atmospheres there are around the mountain, you know.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, that's
you.
neat.
There's probably a few photos from you here as well. So in terms of the planning stages for this, like, when did you decide to do this in the first place, and then like how long ahead of the actual trip itself did you start planning?
We honestly, we actually did plan quite far in advance. We did not use any tour operator or anything. We booked everything directly with the refuges. We booked everything ourselves. We didn't do any sort of thing. And honestly, it was tremendously doable. And I remember I was researching the Tour du Mont Blanc for the app at the time. So it was very, very convenient that I could kind of get all the number and contact details for the refuges. But what's really handy now is that in the app, you can get all of their contact details there. Honestly, I can't tell you how very good value it was. It was exceptionally good value. I think it was like in around 30 or 40 euro per night. But equally, I will say is, look, there's some really good tour operators out there who'll do full packages. But for us, yeah, we booked everything ourselves, and we booked it directly with the refuges. Some of them are a little bit scary in that, like, they obviously, responding to emails is not their number one priority. So like some of them, we weren't even booked right up until we had left, and we're emailing them, and they just kind of say, "I'll just show up, you'll be fine." And we're kind of like, what? Like, we'll be stuck on the side of a mountain if this doesn't work out. And they're like, show up, you'll be fine. And we did show up, and it's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not going to recommend that to anyone else, because obviously that could go quite badly. But for us, honestly, that day, there was only 1 or 2 places. And there was places where you kind of show up and you're like, oh yeah, I booked this. And they're kind of looking at you. And then eventually they'll kind of check something. And then you get that reassurance of like, oh yes, thank God. But we didn't have any problems. Everywhere that we had booked was there. And everywhere that we were told that you kind of just show up on the day, and we did, and we had no problems.
Yeah, because I have heard horror stories where you don't have something booked and you show up and you've have nothing to do, and you kind of have to go off and try and sneakily wild camp somewhere where you're definitely not allowed to. I believe you're allowed to wild camp over a certain height or a certain elevation. Is that right?
Yes. So now the challenge is the rules change from country to country. So my understanding, so nobody take me as a quote on this, I believe when you are in Italy, if you were above 2,500 meters, you can camp. I do know in Chamonix, and I'm trying to remember the name of the town that it comes immediately after sort of the first big town you go through in France. Still can't remember it off the top of my head, but they're very strict on camping there. In fact, I do remember from Abby Barnes's video, she actually got in trouble when she was there. It's definitely worth watching her video. But yeah, she got in trouble while she was there, and basically they were like, "No, you're not allowed to camp here." So yeah, there definitely are some areas where even getting to 2,500 meters could be challenging. But again, that's one of the helpful things. In the app, we do have alt routes. So within the app, I was very, very specific to add alt routes that do bring you up to 2,500 meters every day. So for anyone who is looking to wild camp along the way there is an option.
Yeah, I'll throw them up on the screen now in a second. But I want to mention there, we were talking about some of these kind of like hairy sections of the trail. And I actually had a couple of images up there, but I've closed them out. But it's really worthwhile going into the review section of the trail on HiiKER, because you're going to see, like, obviously, Paul, you put up a really detailed review there with some information, some photographs, but just to get a sense of the trail in various different terrains, various different weather conditions, various different times of the year, and different perspectives. It's good to go in here and just kind of see what's ahead of you. But like some of the staircases that you would have done, like there's these kind of like chains and kind of more steep terrain that is probably a little bit more challenging. But again, like there is like safety measures here, and like it's not like it's completely vertical. Like you do have some
I will say some of the ladders definitely are challenging. Like some of the ladders off memory could be like 6 or 7 meters of a vertical ladder. So that's one of the things that I think helpful. Like honestly, and it didn't really bother me too much, but it was something that Emer was a little bit worried about. But so when we got to the ladders, she didn't really know that they were coming there, and honestly, she was like, "I'm so thankful I didn't know," because she didn't want to be worrying about it. But when we got to the ladders there, they definitely came as a surprise to me. There's a couple of I don't know what the proper name for them, like a cliff shimmy, where you have like a bar here and you're standing on a ledge and you have to like shimmy along like a little cliff. So there's a couple of areas like that. There's a couple of areas of very steep steps. So it's like a wooden step on a very, very steep rock slope. And then there's obviously a good, like maybe 4 or 5 vertical ladders as well. So some people may find them challenging. If you have any sort of vertigo or anything like that at all, they could be a little bit scary.
Okay. So just back onto I suppose your experience then of planning and prepping and all that kind of stuff. In terms of like what you actually packed for this, did you go full tent, sleeping bag, food for every day, or how did you and Emer actually plan?
So we did not carry a tent. We did have a sleeping bag. I brought, I'm going to be very precise here. I brought 2 pairs of underwear that I would wash intermittently. I had 1 pair of shorts from memory, and then I had I think 3 t-shirts and 3 pairs of socks. Sorry, 3 underwear, 3 t-shirts, 3 pairs of socks there. And you would obviously wash them. Everybody does as you're going along the trail there. You would wash your stuff along the way there. I brought I think my red bag is approximately like 20 liters. Now keep in mind, I also carried a laptop with me, which most people don't, because I was building and developing the app as I'm doing this. But so that definitely unnecessarily added to my weight, and I had batteries for that. As I said, I had a drone as well. I had camera equipment. So I had a lot of stuff with me that most people wouldn't. But I did have a sleeping bag. I had like a liner for my kind of sleeping bag as well. Then I had those clothes and just toiletries after that. Emer carried a really small bag, like very, very small. So I carried both of our sleeping bags in my one and kind of most of her change of clothes. Her bag was like, honestly, it was like a 5-liter bag. It was really kind of like, nice for her though. Really kind of like, it's very kind of like a good position on your back. But yeah, that was our setup. We were very, very keen because we were just off the back of walking the Wicklow Way and the Dingle Way. and we way overcarried for them. We took it way too much weight. So this time I was like honestly going but we actually packed perfectly for this. We just had the right amount of stuff there. We didn't have anything that felt excessive. Yeah, it was my best ever pack.
Best ever packing job?
Yes, 100%. Oh my God. Because I just remember there was nothing. You know the way like sometimes you might go hiking and like you look at this after like, why did I bring this? I did not need this at all there. I just had nothing like that in there. I had a very light raincoat that went in. Like it did rain one of the days, and outside of that we got spectacular weather. But yeah, I had like perfect pack.
And then for traveling to and from the kind of start, you started in Chamonix or Les Houches?
Les Houches, yeah, that's where we started. So for traveling, we flew into Geneva, and then there is like there's a Tour du Mont Blanc kind of bus service that you can book. I believe at the time it's like kind of 40 or 50 euro a head, and it basically takes you all the way to Les Houches, and then it does like drop offs at all of the different hotels in Les Houches. We stayed in a hotel the first night there in Les Houches, and that was the only hotel I think we stayed in along the way. Sorry, I recommend that. Highly recommend that, because we had brought additional bags for kind of after we finished hiking, because we had a couple of days where we were going to be kind of relaxing around the town. So when you book a hotel, at least the one we cross-checked this at the time there, they were going to keep our other bag, so that when we went hiking there, they kept our bag the whole time there, and we didn't have to like bring any excess stuff around that. So that was I highly recommend that. That was the reason why we stayed in it. We splashed out a little bit more and stayed in a hotel on the first night, so we had that bag storage.
Great. Okay, that's really good advice. Yeah, I suppose like you're hardly gonna like finish your hike direct and in your clothes, in your dirty kind of hiking clothes that you maybe washed once or twice over the course of your trail, and then jump straight on a plane and go home. You do want to like take a day or two to kind of like recoup and to refuel and everything like that. Yeah. And then I guess we already mentioned the those ladders and the chains and stuff like that. And like I suppose the overall steepness of the trail as well. Like they're just things that people will know. It's like it's an over 8,000 meter in elevation trail. But that obviously is spread out over 190 k. But is there anything else that like you would say to watch out for? Any kind of like surprises that came up on the trail when you were doing it?
The ladders definitely was like the biggest surprise. We knew they were there, but I think they were more difficult than I thought they were going to. I don't want to put anybody off. Like it's tremendously doable, but they definitely kind of came, to be a bit more surprised there. Generally, the elevation gain, I think, was more than I thought it was going to be. Again, I think that's just, a factor of, mainly having hiked in kind of Ireland and the UK before then, that like you just don't get those kind of elevation gains there. So that did come as a surprise to me. Again, if you have that kind of experience, obviously it's not going to come with the same surprise. But yeah, that definitely came as a surprise. Outside of that, it's busy. It is a busy trail. And that definitely came as a bit of a surprise to me. Like I knew it was obviously a popular trail, but I didn't think it would be as busy as I thought it was going to be. But it really was. It was very, very busy, and there was a lot of people there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll leave it there, unless there's any other kind of little points, little tips that that come to mind, Paul, about hiking and planning for the Tour du Mont Blanc. I know it's been a few years since you've done it, but like I can't imagine that it's changed dramatically since you did it. I know it probably has gotten a lot more popular, just in the global sense that hiking in general has just got more popular, so more people are probably looking to do it. And there's obviously the UTMB as well, which is gaining in popularity, which is a different thing altogether, but it's still it's the same trail, and it's gaining a lot more popularity. Sorry, John has one more question before we drop off. What time of year did you actually do it in?
We did it in the window for hiking. It is quite small. I'll get to that in a sec. But we did it in at the end of July, start of August. But the window is quite small. Because obviously these are high mountain peaks that are very often covered in snow. So I believe the window opens sometime during June and then closes sometime during September, where the trail is most easily passable. Now, I'm sure if you're correctly equipped, you can pass it, most times a year, but the refuges will also kind of most exclusively open at those times of year as well. So, but yeah, we did it end of July, August kind of time period.
And I suppose just a question for myself: what, like, it's called the Tour du Mont Blanc? Is there many? Are you just constantly looking up at Mont Blanc, or is it like mostly you're kind of like tucked away and there's only a few places where you can actually see it?
Oh no, you very, very often have a view. It's just so imposing over the kind of whole landscape there. So you very, very often have a view. Honestly, that was one of my favorite activities, just to kind of like you do regularly. Like I think you get to know it. Obviously, you walk around it and you start to like understand exactly where it is, and you get to know. But at the start of it, I'm regularly looking at the map, going, "Is that it? Was that one there? No, that was it there." But yeah, no, you definitely do. You get views all the way along.
I was just zooming in on a point here. Now that I can't get our map is restricted on desktop to scale and to pivot. But I'm just looking here. This part of the trail here. It's literally called restaurant. It looks like it's probably the best place to get a view of Mont Blanc. It's literally right here.
Oh yes. I know exactly where that is. Yes, yeah. I think that's just up above Chamonix there. Yes. Oh, wow, it's amazing.
It's absolutely incredible. Okay, well,
I do want to say one other thing very quickly. I really think, regardless of what you kind of are hearing from me, if you do think you're in the ability to do it, or if you're thinking you want an even bigger challenge, it is one of the incredible things there. There are so many alternative routes. There's so many different ways to go there. So if you want to make this way more difficult, or if you want to, maybe even go some easier routes, there are a lot of alternative options there on the trail there. Like you'll see on HiiKER, I think we have like maybe anywhere up to like 17 or 18 alternative routes there. So there's a ton of options to help you get it just right for yourself.
Yeah, there is this trail stages I have up on screen here. So you have your stage 1, alt 2, alt 3, alt 4, stage 2, and then alternatives for almost every single stage of the trail as well. Where like if you compare, say stage 2 here, that's 19 kilometers with 1,500 meters of elevation, but you can make it a little bit more difficult, more spicy by making it 24.2 kilometer with almost 2,500 meters of elevation. Exactly. And then even spicier again with 2,400 meters of elevation. So there's one here which is only 6.7 with 257 meters of elevation. So there's kind of like a little ways you can make it up for yourself. You can join all these different stages together. So there's all sorts of different ways you can hike the trail. Right, well, I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Paul, thanks for bringing us through your experience on the Tour du Mont Blanc. Again, it still sits at the top of my list. I have not done it yet, but I'm hoping to do it very, very soon. If anybody is interested in talking more about trails and viewing more of these videos, we have a new community group on Facebook. I'll put the link into our bio and you can follow it there. But yeah, it's a growing community of hikers and HiiKER users as well, where we're just talking about trails, hiking, and the future of the app. As I said in all these streams before, HiiKER has been built by the community, and we take all of the suggestions, we take all of the experience from our users and use that to help build the best product that is available for hikers. So please do join that conversation. Just search up the HiiKER, the Hiking Maps app on Facebook. You'll find us. We're the #1 group on that. We constantly are putting in new discussions and following the discussion there. And we'll leave it at that then, guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you at the next stream next week.
Thank you.